This is the ultimate strawberry shortcake. This is made with a flaky sweet biscuit and it's crusted with a sugar topping, and then it's loaded with a dollop of whipped cream and fresh summer strawberries. This recipe is a fruit dessert perfection. Welcome back. I'm Jill with thecarefreekitchen.com, and today I'm sharing my favorite summer recipe with you. This is my strawberry shortcake, and I have the directions on my website, so there's no need to write down all these instructions. Just follow along with me, and I'll show you step by step how to make this dessert perfection. Okay, so this starts with my favorite biscuit recipe. This is like a baking powder biscuit recipe. I have another one on my site for like more savory things, but this is a sweet biscuit. And the difference is I added a little bit of sugar to the biscuit, and then also I use this raw sugar on top, and it makes like the most amazing crust. I love to use this on top of muffins, scones, and then of course the sweet biscuit. Okay, so for the biscuits, I have flour here and then baking powder, and be sure it's not baking soda, you want baking powder here. And then we have some sugar and a little bit of salt, and then some room temperature butter. And of course, a little bit of milk to make the biscuit. And then I'll also show you how to make some freshly whipped cream. And if you've never made homemade whipped cream, you're gonna wanna stay for this because it is so easy and it's only a couple ingredients. And then I have an egg, and I'm going to make an egg wash, and then just put that over the top of the biscuits. It makes them really golden brown. And then this is sugar in the raw. And if you've never used this, this is what it looks like. And it's just like this crystallized sugar, and it is so pretty on top of muffins, or of course these biscuits, or even some homemade scones. And then I have my strawberries, and I'm going to add a little bit of sugar when I slice those, and then some heavy whipping cream and nuts to make our homemade whipped cream. So you need about a pound of strawberries, and I just like to cut the tops off and cut the least amount of little red off. And then I bought this really cool little strawberry slicer on Amazon. It's so fun, and it actually makes this really quick. And you can just do your strawberries while your biscuits cook, but also you could do your strawberries like a couple hours ahead of time too. You don't want to do it too far ahead of time, or else your strawberries can get like a little bit mushy. So right before you eat, or an hour or two is great. And also, you don't have to add the sugar to your strawberries, but I do like just a little burst of sweetness, because the biscuits aren't that sweet and the whipped cream isn't that sweet. Another fun recipe variation that I love doing is a homemade lemon curd, and I have a recipe for that on my website too. And it's literally, you just blend like 5 ingredients together and then you boil it. It is the easiest little recipe, and it is so yummy on strawberry shortcake. Another one of my recipes that I really love making with this is a homemade pudding recipe. And again, it's just like you mix up ingredients and then cook it until it boils and it thickens up perfectly. And then if you add half whipped cream with half pudding, that is like so amazing. So these are my strawberries. Okay, I found this cool little tool on Amazon, and it will slice your strawberries. Like, look at that, how easy that is. I like it because it's nice and even. Just makes you really pretty strawberries. I'm just gonna pick off the little leaf there. Okay, I'm just gonna continue with this until I have about a pound of strawberries, and really this is a give and take. You know, if you have more strawberries, that's great too. Okay, so for the biscuit recipe, I'm going to add 2 cups of flour into my mixing bowl. And then to that, I will add in my baking powder and sugar, and then some salt. And this recipe calls for 1/3 cup of room temperature butter. So room temperature butter, you should be able to press it and it makes an indentation, but it's not too soft. So I just have a little pastry mixer, and you can definitely do this with just a fork and it's fine. That works great too. But this, if you just mix it until it's like pea-sized little pieces of butter, that is good enough. And the trick about getting really flaky biscuits that just kind of like puff up is not to knead your dough. So you're just cutting your butter into your flour, cutting it into little pieces. And you do this until, again, it's just like little pea-sized pieces of flour and butter. And then we'll add our milk. Okay, so here is my flour mixture. You can see the big pieces of butter are all mixed in. And now I'm going to take 3/4 cup of milk and add that. And I just going to use a spoon. And again, we don't want to mix this really vigorously. This is best if you do it by hand, not in a mixer or a food processor. And that way it will ensure you have really soft and tender biscuits. And it doesn't even need to be in like a big ball. It just needs to have the moisture distributed evenly throughout the biscuits. And just mix this up. So as you're mixing this, depending on the grind of your flour, your biscuits might be just like a little tiny bit dry. It's better if you add the flour a little bit slowly so that in case you need to add a little bit more flour, you can do that. But if your dough is like a little bit stiff, you can add just like 1/2 tablespoon of milk. Let's see. And add just a little to make sure it gathers up all of the flour on the bottom. Yep, this is perfect. So throughout your biscuit, you're gonna have like these flakes of butter, and then as it cooks, the steam expands the biscuit, and then that's what makes it really flaky. So this is perfect. Now I'm gonna put a little bit of flour on my table here, on my cutting board, and show you how to roll out the biscuits. And then this is what my dough looks like. And it's not completely stuck together, which is fine, which is exactly how you want it. I'm going to make it into kind of a circle here, bring in any pieces, and then I like to just lightly flour my rolling pin and roll it out. And if you can do this so it's about 3/4 inch thick, that is about where you want it. And you could even cut these into like squares and it would be cute. I have this little biscuit cutter and it is perfect. The thing that you want to keep in mind when you are making biscuits is you don't want to turn it as you go down. If you go down straight, then it will like puff up a little bit taller. It's something we've learned along the way making homemade biscuits. And I think this took me like, 2 or 3 minutes to make. So it really is so easy to make homemade biscuits, and they're so yummy too. So I'm gonna do these as close as I can to get as many as I can. And this is the perfect size for individual little strawberry shortcakes. Let's see, there we go. And then I'm going to place each of these on a parchment-lined baking sheet. Okay. Just going to place these onto my baking sheet here. You can already see how they're gonna be flaky. They're so pretty. And you could make smaller ones here, that's fine too. I am just going to lightly press this together. The least amount that you roll it, the better. So I'm just gonna piece this together a little bit without rolling it out, and it's going to work just fine. Here's another one. All right, so for the topping for my sweet biscuits, this is how you do the sugar topping. I'm going to beat 1 egg here a little bit, and the egg will make it nice and golden brown on top. And then I'm going to add just like a tablespoon of milk. And again, give that a nice little whip. I just don't want the egg to be too thick on my biscuits. So there we go. And now I'm just going to take a pastry brush and put it right on top of my biscuit. And if you get the sides a little bit, that's great. This makes just a really yummy sweet biscuit. And I actually came up with this recipe. I have a biscuit recipe on my website, but if you've ever been to the Cheesecake Factory, they have this yummy strawberry shortcake and it has a sweet biscuit on it. Theirs is made with ice cream. I like mine with just whipped cream and strawberries to keep it light, but it has this biscuit and it is just such a fun thing to eat because you have the chewy biscuit and then the really tart and sweet strawberries and then the creamy whipped cream. I mean, it is just a combo that is heavenly. So here is my raw sugar. Look how pretty that is. And this just makes this really nice sugar-crusted topping. I'm gonna add this to each of my biscuits. And this is probably just like a half a teaspoon. It's not very much, but it just adds like this little bit of like burst of sweetness on your biscuits. There we go. All right. Okay, so now we're going to bake that in a preheated 420-degree oven. It's a hot oven until they're golden brown, and that will be for 12 to 15 minutes. Okay, my biscuits are ready. Look at these golden brown, flaky biscuits. They are puffed up and flaky and perfect. I like to finish these off with just a little bit of butter on top. I know maybe it's extra, but it is just a fun way to finish them off. Okay, here is my butter. Just gonna give this a little dab of butter on each one of the biscuits. And you get that like little bit of like flaky, and then also the little sweetness from the sugar. And now for my strawberries. I have about a pound of strawberries here, and I'm just going to add a little bit of sugar here, and then just mix it up. And I'm gonna let that sit. If you can let it sit for about 10 minutes, like the juices from all the strawberries will start to come out, and it just, I mean, really makes this a really fun and bright dessert with a lot of strawberry flavor. So we'll just let that sit here for a few more minutes. Okay, so here is my heavy whipping cream, and if you use cold whipping cream, it works the best. And then I'm going to add my powdered sugar, and now we'll just mix this up until it's light and fluffy, and it will be about twice the size in volume. All right, and here is my vanilla. I'm going to add just like a half a teaspoon of vanilla, and here is my homemade whipping cream. You can do this a little bit more, but I like it to be a really soft peak here on my whipping cream. So that is just about right. I like to take one of the biscuits and just lightly cut it in half, and then take the top off. And I like to layer it a little bit. I like to have the biscuit and then a hefty dollop of whipped cream, and then some of our macerated strawberries. Perfect. And then I'm going to add my biscuit on top. There we go. And then just to make it a little bit pretty, I like to add another dollop of whipped cream. Okay, here is my strawberry shortcake with the sweet biscuit. It just, does it get better than that? No. Okay, I love biting into this, and the amazing thing is, it's like the macerated strawberries and the whipped cream just like melt into that biscuit, that buttery biscuit, and this is a dessert that is heavenly and perfect for your spring or summer celebration anytime strawberries are in season. This is my go-to birthday dessert, or anytime I want to have like an easy, fun strawberry dessert. This is one that you must put on your baking list next. Well, thank you so much for watching this episode of the Carefree Kitchen. Be sure to like, subscribe, and follow me here, and I will show you all kinds of fun and easy recipes that your family will love. And again, the printable recipe is in the description. So go there and you can get everything you need to make this amazing strawberry dessert. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.